China Clipper calling Alameda, San Antonio, checking my red ball tasting one shoe. China Clipper calling. Well, I'm gonna fit good in a casket, double over at my knees, cry all the way to the poorhouse, have mercy on me if you please. It's a long way down, when you're falling hard, when you come around. I was out of town, working in the chicken yard. Well, my grandma read me the Bible, but the days of the prophet passed. Them girls was pretty in the middle of the street, had a cop tapping on my glass. It's a long way down when you're falling hard. When you come around, I was out of town, I've been working in the chicken yard.
I want thunderous applause, Danny Barnes. We need an applause track. This is Danny Barnes, as you can see from his amazing shirt right there. And Danny, I wanted to interview you for a long time, and we finally corralled you here at RockyGrass 2016. And I think I first met you with the Bad Livers. You were playing with the Bad Livers in Austin, Texas, which was
right.
Tell me a little bit about that band.
Well, we worked really hard. I tell you, we put out, I don't know, maybe like 10 records total, but we had about 10 years we were burning up the road pretty good. There was one year, I think we played about 250 shows, over 200 shows. We worked hard, man. We spent a lot of time in a van, and that was all like in the early 90s, and you just, back then, it was like young people, like hip cats, people that were like, young guys, whatever, that were into rock music or whatever, that you didn't really see very many people with banjos and stuff like that like you do now,
Or tubas, for that matter.
Yeah,
you had
accordions and all that. You didn't see, I don't know, we were kind of blazing a trail, I thought. We felt like we were kind of on a mission,
Yeah.
We really felt like we had this kind of like responsibility to sort of like serve music and to bring this knowledge and interest in music to people and stuff. And it served us pretty well. We had a real interesting run. We did a lot of weird things, like one night we played in front of the Butthole Surfers, and then relatively quickly, maybe even the following weekend, we played with Doc Watson, and we would just do different things like that. And it was real fun in that we had like fans that were like sort of metal punk rock world, which is like Mark and I are kind of from, as kids, we were sort of like, my partner in that band, we were kind of from, got interested in punk rock and things like that in the 70s or whatever, in the 80s. And so we kind of brought that into like acoustic music, and so anyway. We worked real hard for about 10 years.
Yeah, and it was fiddle, tuba sometimes, and banjo.
Yeah, well, the fiddler, Ralph, doubled on a fiddle and accordion.
Yeah.
Everybody doubled, and there was 3 of us, and then the bassist doubled on tuba, and everybody sang. And I played guitar and banjo and sang and wrote the songs and produced a couple of the records.
Yeah. One thing that impressed me is that you were equally adept at clawhammer and picking.
Yeah, when I was a kid, the guy that I was really into was Don Stover. I've always been a Don Stover fan. I just liked the way he was able to sort of, because it's like, also, if you go back and you listen to the 78 recordings of like banjo playing, they've recently uploaded a lot of this on the Smithsonian side and Library of Congress and all that. There's like so much information, you can investigate this for yourself. But like there's like all these different ways of playing the banjo that don't really have names. It's like this sort of continuum. Like, for history, we give an epoch a name or something to make it, to differentiate it from another period. But in reality, it was more of a continuum if you're in the moment, I think. And so if you go back and listen to those records, a lot of those really early guys, you know, sort of like that Wes Osman, you know, and how it kind of got into sort of like the early string bands and things, and Doc Boggs, etc. There was a whole bunch of different ways of playing the banjo. And for me, the banjo, I'm a little bit like sort of, I'm a little bit mismatched a lot of times because I'm around a lot of instrumentalists and stuff like yourself that's really got a really super highly developed language on an instrument and, you know, developed it really highly. But for me, I'm actually sort of a composer person, like an idea person, record producer guy, engineer, idea person, and I use the banjo as a tool. So it's just a little, the banjo has a little bit different role in my life. Like for me, it's a way to get my ideas out. Like I'm not really an instrumentalist in that developed sense. You know, a guy like you know, like Jerry Douglas has got this really developed language and things that he does, super high level playing. And I'm like, I write poetry and songs and make records that have like a thematic unity, where they're like a little movie, or experiment with electronics and process the banjo and do different things. So I kind of consider myself to be more of like a, I guess like a just an artist person in the art world as much as anything. So I'm a little bit, you know, when I get around a lot of hot pickers, I feel a little bit shy because I haven't developed my banjo playing in that way, because I've also had to learn to write songs and make records and things like that too, which is any of those subjects is a lifelong subject.
Of course.
So,
but the thing is, what you just started with there, you're playing, to me, I mean, you have some Scruggs in there, but then, to me, you have your own language.
well,
That's what I hear anyway.
I appreciate you saying that, because I really tried to do that, because it's like I really tried to make up my own way of playing, you know. And where I came up with a lot of that stuff was through being a session player, and you know, like say you learn, you know, your 25 banjo instrumentals really good, and you learn them, you know, all these different ways of playing something, but then you get a job to play on a record. And you go in there and it's like a folk song in the key of C at, you know, 80 beats a minute or something, you know, and then it modulates or something, and there's no solo, and that information doesn't help you so much, you know, if you know what I'm saying, or if you get a job, like a reading job, you know, you get a job, like I was, one time I did a few productions of that. I think you were in the original cast, that Robert Bridegroom thing,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
You got to read the music, you know, and it's not like you're going to play Clinch Mountain Backstep at 90 miles an hour or something like that. You got to read the part, you know.
Yeah.
And so where the rubber met the road, I found I had to learn more stuff that wasn't, you know, in the bailiwick of bluegrass or whatever, you know, because I was trying to make a living and also just trying to develop as a musician.